Hey, this is Hans from Dakota Angler and Outfitter, and today we're going to tie a Quill Body Emerging Nymph. I used this pattern a lot this past summer, and it was very productive. I think the slenderness of this fly, using the strip peacock quill body from Polish Quills, has really nice segmentation. It also keeps a very slender fly, which fish that have seen a lot of flies tend to prefer flies that are very sparse and slender. So I've got a Syndicate 200 BK nymph emerger hook in the vise and a nickel tungsten bead to match. I'm going to start with some 70 denier olive thread and wrap to the back of the hook, and I'm just going to go just over that little bump right there. Stop there, and then I'll take off my excess thread. And then we're going to tie in a tail of some coq de leon fibers, and you don't need a lot of them. 5 or 6 fibers is more than enough. I'm just going to lay them at an angle so that when the thread pushes, brings them up over the top. I want my tail to be just about the length of the hook shank. Wrap over those towards the bead. Trim off any excess up near the bead. Next we're going to tie in our strip peacock quill. This one is dyed olive. These come in a lot of colors, so you can mess around with those and really get a variety of colors depending on what mayfly species you're matching, or there's even some really bright colors, kind of more of a tractor nymph type colors, pinks and reds. So you've got a quill here. Gets very narrow at the end. What you want to do is, for a fly this size, this is actually a size 12. I like to take off a little bit of that quill so I start getting into the thicker part of the quill a little sooner here. I tie that in up near the front, wrap to the back. Now you'll see there's a dark edge and a light edge. Depending on where you want that darker edge for your segmentation, either forward or back. Here when I wrap this, it's going to be on the back edge of the wrap. It won't make a lot of difference, but personal preference there. You can flip this around so the dark edge is on the top so that the dark edge leads your wrap. Just mess around with that and see which way you prefer. Now you want to have a fairly smooth underbody here, so smooth that out with some nice tight thread wraps. You can go about 2/3 of the way to the front of the hook. And then these are a little bit small, that you might want a pair of hackle pliers on your quill to wrap those. And we'll just start wrapping nice tight wraps with our quill body. Make sure you don't leave any gaps there. Just wrap up to where your thread is waiting. Oops. Hackle plier slipped off. Luckily things stayed put. So now we'll just keep, looks like got one more wrap to go. Tie that off. Couple wraps there, and then we'll trim off the excess and make a couple more wraps. Just make sure it's not going anywhere. There we go. Okay, so one trick with these quills, they look pretty decent on their own, but they really pop when you put a little glue over them. You can either just use head cement, like glossy head cement, but I like to do like a UV. You see how much that really shows that segmentation? Just put a little UV, either hydro or any thin UV resin on there. Once you got that, hit that with your lamp. Get that all set before you continue with the rest of the fly. These natural quills are so cool looking once they get that coating over them. It also enhances the durability of the fly as well. Give it plenty of cure. I might need to do a little bit more than that, but in the interest of time here on the video, I'll keep tying. So I'm going to build up a little thorax. I'm going to use Nature Spirit Fine Natural Dubbing, and this is a brown olive. Again, you can mix and match these color schemes to, you know, match various mayfly species. You don't need a ton of bulk here. I'm just going to build up a nice little round ball right there. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take and put in a little emerging wing of CDC. And you can use little puffs or full feather. I'm going to use a full feather. I had one laying here ready to go, and then it floated away. I'm just going to take the whole feather, I'm going to pull it so all the fibers are bundled together. Once I've got those bundled together, I'll set it right in that little area between that ball of dubbing and the bead. I don't need it quite that long. About like that's perfect. Tie that off and then trim off the excess and kind of twist that up so that it trims easier. Save that feather for a couple more flies if you're tying a few of these in a row. Now I'm going to take just a tiny bit more of that same dubbing and sandwich that CDC between a couple layers of dubbing. Oops. You don't need very much dubbing here, just a tiny bit. There you go. Maybe just a little more than that. And now that I've got dubbing on there, I'll go ahead, a couple of fibers that are out of control, but I got rid of them. I'm throwing a whip finish now right behind the bead. Not quite done with the fly yet. You could be done with the fly. That'd fish just fine. But the version I had success with this summer, once I'd tied off with my olive thread, I took some fire orange thread, just tied in behind the bead enough to give it a nice little hot spot collar. Go ahead and whip finish once you've made enough wraps to make that collar. Trim off your excess. And that's basically, whoops, the finished fly. Put a little head cement on that collar to prevent it from coming undone, and you've got yourself a killer pattern. This fly was dynamite for me this year. If I was nymphing a run and my standard patterns, either a czech nymph or a little tungsten jig fly, wouldn't do it, for some reason the fish responded every time to this fly. Kind of saved a lot of my guide days this year when things got a little bit tough. So be sure to tie some of these emerging quill nymphs up. You'll love the way they fish, and because of the variety of colors of the strip quills, you can tie them in just about every color combination you can think of. I'm Hans from Dakota Angler and Outfitter. Thanks for watching, and check back with us for more videos in the near future.